Welcome to Uncomfortable, conversations about culture and Christianity. My name is Eric, and today I'm joined by Jess.
Hello, world.
And Alex.
We made it. We made it through January. We are now into February.
Ew.
Shortest month, though it is a day longer than normal.
A leap year?
This year, correct. A leap year. Everyone watched the movie Leap on Leap Day.
What happens when you're born on the 29th of February? Do you not
March
only
1st,
celebrate?
I believe is.
When do you celebrate your birthday?
March 1st, I
really?
believe. Yeah.
Alex would know because we already discussed this in past
Why not
episodes.
February 28th then?
You're early at that point.
Oh, okay.
Right? So,
Huh.
I don't know that 100%. I do know that I have...
You sounded 100%.
I have...
Yeah, very
I think
confident.
you should just stick with it.
I have a nephew, and I guess what would she be considered when they get married? A niece-in-law? Is that what you call her?
Some kind of
Wait,
in-law.
did you just say I have a nephew? What would she be considered?
No, and then I was thinking of,
He got
of
married.
who he's marrying. They're not married yet.
so
They're getting
confused.
married on Leap Day.
Guys, we started
And
less
I
than,
believe
like,
the
2
plan
minutes
is-
ago, and we're...
The plan is for their anniversary to be celebrated on March 1st.
Oh, okay.
But they are getting married on this year.
Oh,
Why?
That's fun.
I think just because they're married, their wedding was going to be a small wedding.
They should talk to
in February.
a lawyer about that. It might be null and void if you get married on that day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if it's a real wedding.
I will not be at it though.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's in Oklahoma, and my daughter is performing in Finding Nemo that day.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
I wouldn't
she's the
miss
scuba
that.
mask. Yeah,
I wouldn't miss
so
that.
That'll be great. Can't wait to talk about that on the podcast. But
Perfect.
You got a voicemail for us today?
we've got a voicemail.
Yay. We haven't had one in a little while.
Here it is.
Been a minute.
Hi, uncomfy podcasters. I was wondering if anyone on the podcast plays video games or has a family member that does. Thank you so much, and keep it uncomfy.
No.
That was a younger person, I believe.
That was a little person.
No.
Yeah. You don't have a family member that plays video games?
No, I'm kidding. I do have children that play video games. We're Switch people. So mostly it's Minecraft.
Nintendo Switch.
Eric knows for probably like 3 weeks at least, I was pretty hardcore into Animal Crossing.
The pandemic did it to a lot of people. A lot of people jumped in that game.
But not often. I'm not, we've talked about this before. I'm not anti it. It's just not my form of entertainment usually. It doesn't do to me what popcorn does to Jess. We can for sure say that.
Ooh. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, video games.
Fresh popcorn. Yeah.
Jess, do you or have
Oh,
members?
yeah. I mean, this was my family member, my son Gavin that called. I didn't know what he said, actually. He wanted to do a voicemail.
Oh.
And so he went and did this voicemail himself. So
Aw.
go Gavin. And I also feel like he wants me to play video games with him. So I feel like he's going to talk to you about this later. We're going to have a
Do
conversation.
your children listen to our podcast?
Yeah.
My kids could care less. Do your kids listen?
I mean,
to
they
our
don't
podcast?
listen to the whole thing,
Sometimes
but they'll
it'll start
Yeah.
in my car.
Yeah,
and,
same.
and then they'll be like, "Are we really gonna do this?" Like,
yeah,
sort
no,
of thing.
Yeah,
but
nice.
they think that the banter is fun.
Yeah,
The first part.
My kids have been convinced, though, that our producer is really awesome. Our producer Austin, his children are in my children's small group through the church community group, and they tell my kids that their dad's a YouTuber.
Oh,
So we did mention
That
that
is
a few
cool.
weeks ago. So if you haven't subscribed to Wood Advice,
that's super
go do
fun.
it.
It's a WOOD.
They're like, did you know that
VISE.
William's dad is a YouTuber? And I was like, yes.
I
Is
did
that
know
okay that I just said your son's name, Austin?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I got the thumbs
Let's
up.
just get back to me.
Back to Jess. Let's go.
I do not play video games, but I support those who do. So the rest of my family does play.
You're an ally. Then.
They have an Xbox, and then their uncle gave them his old PlayStation for Christmas.
We call that a funkle.
Oh
fun
yeah,
uncle.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Giving you
Yes, we do.
PlayStations.
yeah.
That was a surprise.
Yeah.
So it's in my
Funkles
future.
are different in my family.
I'm open to it, but right now I hang out with obviously Candy Crush and Monopoly Go. Those
Okay,
are like
so you
my
play
two.
video games. There you go.
Does that count? Do those count as video games, Jared?
100%. Don't look at
Did you
Jarrett.
just rob my bank?
Don't look across the room at Jarrett.
He's fact check. We have a fact checker in here. It's 2024, so we figured this year we need to have our podcast fact check.
I would like to correct Alex though on one part where he said he doesn't play video games, and this man I know had. He said it was.
Let's call him out. I love
He
this.
said
You
this
go,
was
Eric.
for his son, but he had a pretty hardcore Pokemon Go addiction.
Okay.
I did. Yeah, there was probably like
Like he was playing that
Yeah, there
all
was.
the time. So I'm just gonna say
that is true.
That's true. I also.
the only reason I love to call that out is because it's kind of the landscape of video games now with the way that mobile games have become so prominent that
is true.
people don't even think of them as video games because it's like, oh, it's just an app on my phone. So
yeah,
okay,
it's like you don't
I
play video games? Yes, you do.
I don't anymore.
He gave it up.
Wow, very strong.
I dove in pretty hard to that as well. Like I did do Animal Crossing at a different time.
This is a flash in a pan moment for
And
him.
it, honestly, for me, both of those were instances where, like, my kid is interested, and then it was something we could do together, which was fun. And then, like, I would also be doing it on my own to try to help.
But hear me out.
How
Imagine if you started a Minecraft server and you and your kid could get on there and play together.
Are you talking to Alex?
Yeah, I'm not talking about both of you, really.
Oh.
I mean, you could get
Yeah.
on there and
Let
you
me
could
just-
build.
let me just think about
You could
that.
build worlds together. You're being creative. Mirroring our creator in a very creative way. No, I don't. I think this question. I've talked about this a lot. I love video
Let's
games.
hear it again.
I play video games all
I
the time.
love it.
I play video games probably. I would say almost daily. I would say that's like the way I unwind. If I'm not like watching TV, and a lot of times I play with my family. Sometimes the games I like to play, they don't think they're as cool, So I don't. But
Eric is like my top. If I ever have questions about a video game or I need parenting advice, I go to Eric. That's a little known fact because
Yes.
I really do. Eric
Ask me
you
all the
think through a
questions.
lot of things, especially in the video game world, and I am out of it.
yeah, I think it's
So I
just
think
it's one
you're
of the
just-
most like it's still a new. I mean, if you consider it was around in like the mid to late 70s and became really prominent in the 80s, it's still pretty young. Like it's not music and movies and comic books and things like that have been around for a long time. So it's still a pretty young medium for a lot of people. And I think that's why it's almost still oddly taboo for certain people and certain families. And like because there's enough generation dating back to like people who are our age now who like their parents didn't play and thought it was bad to do that. And then you kind of keep carrying that down. And so it still has that
Stigma.
like it's a toy or it's only for kids and
It's a waste of time.
I mean, the video game industry, I can tell you, is not being funded by children.
Yeah.
It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it is adults who are buying those games. It is not children. And majority of the games would not even be appropriate for children. So the idea that it's some sort of children's thing is just a very ignorant perspective.
Yeah. I had a game developer actually approach me once about developing a game based on Noon Ball.
No,
yeah, they
I
just
don't
were
believe
like,
you. I don't
there's
believe
NBA Jam out there. There's a lot of professional.
Was it before or after
a
you
lot of
corrected him?
Professional
we
leagues
set
out
the
there,
record
but it would be
straight.
interesting to see like old man version of basketball video game, like the intro version. So I rejected it.
Hopefully fully clothed.
Yeah.
Yes, always.
Being on fire would mean something different in that game.
Yeah.
That's because of the bin gay.
I
Or the
was
icy
gonna- I
hot.
thought
Icy hot, like
Yeah.
old guys that have to use, like Shaq. We'd be sponsored. We'd be sponsored by Icy Hot.
It's like
for
you ate
sure.
beans for breakfast.
Like our
You move
jerseys.
a little
That'd be
faster when
sweet
you
if
fart.
Icy Hot sent us some jerseys, reversibles.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Icy Hot,
Orange and blue.
we'd enjoy that.
Okay. We're getting off track.
Alex would enjoy it. You can leave me out.
Yeah, video games, they're cool. You should play video games. They're fun. Just don't, I mean, here's the thing. I think that there is like that dopamine hit and there's like this idea of video game addiction. And I think that's real. You don't want your kids to have no existence in the real world. But
I think one of the things about video games for sure is that it crosses, like, different generations have different opinions about video games and different understandings. It's definitely one of those as far as technology goes. We've talked about this, quite a few times. There are, what is the word I'm looking for? Digital immigrants and digital natives. And so that's definitely one of those things that can be a separating factor. And the good news is we get to hear more of those a little bit later from some of our friends in Gen Z.
So, Alex, you sat down with two separate groups, a group of 3 middle schoolers, a group of 3 high schoolers, and just kind of, try to get caught up on the times a little bit with Generation Z. Do you feel pretty good about it?
Yeah, I feel good about it. It was fun, and we'll you guys will get a chance to listen, and then we'll talk about it. So,
stay tuned for that.
Okay, as promised, we have some of the finest of Gen Z joining us today on the podcast. This Sunday was Youth Takeover at Christ Community Church, so we thought we would have some of our friends take over. So we've got 2 segments. The first segment is going to be with some of our middle schoolers. If you grew up, a long time ago, you would call it junior high at CCC. So they're each going to answer some of the questions, and later on we'll be joined by high schoolers answering the same questions. But before we get too far into questions, the first question is, I'd love to have you each just introduce yourself. Tell us your first name, what school you go to, or something that's interesting to you, like your favorite hobby or something like that. And we'll start with you, sir, since I'm looking at you.
My name is Callum. I'm in 8th grade and I go to Kiewit Middle School.
Any hobbies or things you enjoy?
I like to play sports.
Sports. All right. Any pickleball? Is that your top sport or?
Football.
Football. Okay. I thought you looked like a pickleballer to me, but I'm wrong. How about yourself?
My name's Evie. I'm in 8th grade and I go to Papillion Middle School.
Papillion. Do you have any hobbies or?
I do art.
Art? Like what kind? Art is so, it could be anything. What kind of art?
All of it.
All of the arts. Okay, great. I'm excited to see all of your art in a museum one day. How about yourself, sir?
I'm Isaiah of 8th grade and homeschooled.
Homeschooled. How about you? Do you have any hobbies? Anything you like to?
3D printing.
3D printing. What's the coolest thing you've 3D printed?
An articulated snake.
Wow. I'd have to see that sometime. Could you bring it to the church or Trail Life sometime?
Yep, probably like next week.
Okay, sounds great. All right, so these are our fine folks that are joining us, middle schoolers, each of them, as you heard. And we're going to just ask them a series of questions and just kind of get their opinions. And one of our hopes for our listeners is, I don't think there's a lot of Gen Z that listens to this podcast. I could be wrong, but maybe you are this week because your besties for the resties are on the podcast this week and you're listening to give them kudos. But just to help understand each of them and their lives in this generation and the things they see. So I'm going to ask a question and give each of you a chance to answer first, and then we'll kind of rotate. We're going to go, since you answered the first question first, Callum, you get to answer the question second. Are you ready? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you. Okay. We can't zone out, man. All right. So biggest challenge you, Gen Z, that you deal with, that you wish other generations, old people like me and your parents and your grandparents and people older than them would understand. What's the biggest challenge you wish we would understand?
One of my friends, she really deals with how she sees herself in a lot of ways. I don't know. I just see that a lot.
So just identity and how she sees herself. Is it more looks physically, or?
It's physical and mental.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Okay. How about you, sir? What are some of the biggest challenges as you think that you don't think other generations understand that you guys have to deal with and go through?
The self-esteem and the way the internet can affect you.
Yeah, I think when I was a kid, I didn't have the internet really to be able to compare myself constantly to everybody else. Yeah, how about you, Callum?
I think there's a lot of stress between school and friends and after school activities.
Yeah, I watch even my kids aren't even in middle school yet, but sports. When I was a kid, it's you just played for the YMCA one night a week or something, and now it's so many pressure to play every sport or do every kind of art activity and all that kind of stuff, and it's a lot of pressure. And then you've got to get good grades on top of that, and then sleep, and then project some kind of identity on the internet. And if you're not, then you're not cool. There's a lot of pressure you guys are dealing with. How about, what are some ways, and Isaiah, I'm going to ask you to start on this one, that Gen Z, your generation, has been mischaracterized? Maybe that adults have said things you've heard that you guys always do this. What are maybe a couple of those ways that you think older generations have mischaracterized you all?
the fact that we play video games so much. We play them because we don't have anything else to do. We can't like go out and go do stuff like they said they did back in the day. Like I can't just go work on a car because I'm just in the middle of a city. What else am I going to do?
Yeah. Is that all you do 24/7 is play video games?
Play video games, fix the 3D printers. There's just not a whole lot I can really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's a good thought. How about you, Callum?
I think older people think that our generation is like really lazy, but that's not true. We have a lot of stuff going on.
Do you know how to mow a lawn?
Yeah.
Really? I'm totally teasing. I believe that you do, but I could see how older people sometimes. Do you know how to shovel a sidewalk even? Wow. We're all the tropes. We're breaking them now. How about you?
I feel like just like characterizing everyone into one category.
Okay.
No matter what generation, everybody's like a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the ways that you feel like we categorize people?
I don't know, just like everyone's always obsessed with social media and that's all they do. And some people that's true, but not so much for other people.
Okay. Yeah, so overgeneralizations like of all what you guys said, like all that Gen Z does is get on video games, or all Gen Z is, they're just all lazy, or so we just throw them all into the same bucket and we just assume that about them. That's good.
Yeah, I kind of want to say something on that.
Yeah.
So like the big problem is the previous generations tend to like throw us in a box and hold us to their standards and what they did back in their day when things are completely different today.
Yeah.
Economy, just about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's helpful. So one of the studies and research as they look at just religion and Gen Z is that most people, if they're signing up and taking a survey and have to pick a religion on there, more than any other generation, and Gen Z is labeling themselves as atheists, so not believing in God at all. Why do you think that is? So Isaiah, I think I'll start on you this time.
So it's typically the school system, internet, they usually are really good at pushing you into the box, their ideologies. So what I've seen a lot is the way the school doesn't teach any Christians. I've seen a lot of schools like ban teachers from preaching out at all with Christians. But like they're fine, you can talk about atheism, all of the transgender stuff, but none of the Christian ideologies. So it's just really something that the school has pushed.
Yeah, so schools are suppressing like, hey, if you want to talk about religion, especially Jesus, from your experience, not allowed to, but you can talk about pretty much anything outside of that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thought. Why do you think that is, Callum?
I think a big thing is because like they're not getting connected, and like as a middle schooler, a lot about it's like what your parents do or like what your friends are doing, and if you're not getting connected, and then you're probably not going to do it as well.
Yeah, that's good. How about you?
I was thinking something, now I have to think of what it was.
It's all right.
I feel like a lot of people in Gen Z like need to find themselves, and finding themselves means putting themselves in a category. I don't know. I just feel like that you always have to have like a label for something that you do, or like how you think, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a generation that's like grown up after the hashtag and after having all these labels, and so there's this desire, especially, I mean, if you're taking a survey, it's like, you've got to answer one of these. So yeah, there's that pressure. That's good. How about social media? So like I said, I'm really old, and there wasn't like even the internet when I was your age, let alone, or there was, but it was very difficult to get onto. And it was painful, and nobody wanted to do it because it was so painful. But now there's social media everywhere, and almost every app, there's kind of a social component to it. How is social media, we'll go positives first. How do you think social media is positively shaping your generation as you think about the things that are on there? I'll go with you first, Callum.
I think it can be like a good way to connect with other people, and it can also like be a way to like learn more.
Yeah, a lot of ways that you can learn. We had a podcast last week, and we talked about Google is no longer like the top search engine for things. It's TikTok and YouTube. So almost everybody's searching things on TikTok and YouTube, especially in Gen Z, instead of going to Google. Like, how do you change a tire or start a lawnmower or 3D print? Most people aren't even looking on Google for that. They're looking on these video platforms. So yeah, that's good.
I can confirm that.
Yeah. So what would you say are some positives from social media?
I mean, the social aspect, because like it's just a way to get connected with people around you.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, like just figuring out how to do things, because it'd be hard to figure out how to do it by yourself when you don't have any background information on it.
Yeah. That's good. How about you?
The way social media has affected like the business market. Like it used to be so difficult to get in and start a business because you'd need to save up the money. But now I can just go to a website and pay a monthly fee and I can sell my 3D printed stuff.
Yeah.
It's just so much easier, and it's just such a positive in that way because I can make money in the business format without needing to open a shop.
Yeah, that's really cool. People that never would have had a chance. You can't, walk into Walmart with the 3D printed thing and say, hey, can you start selling this? Probably weren't going to have a lot of luck doing that, right?
No.
But you can create your own product. That's really good. I hadn't thought about that. How about some of the negatives? So it's not all positive. There's probably some negatives, and we'll go in a reverse order. So I'll let you start here on some of the negatives you see in social media.
Just how easy it is for people to tear you down on the social media platforms. Like she said, it can be positive because you can connect with people, but it also goes the other way. I've seen a lot where people get absolutely torn down on the social media apps, the cyberbullying, all that stuff, and the way it can persuade your faith.
Yeah, that's big. That's big. How about you? What are some of the negative aspects of the social media stuff?
I feel like it just gets you really hooked and makes you really like anxious all the time, and it just makes you kind of obsessed with it.
Yeah, the algorithm is just constantly feeding you something new and feels like I went on there for like 5 seconds to learn how to do something and now it's been 5 hours.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of things can do that though. Like too much of a good thing can become a bad thing.
That's good. That's good. Callum, what are some of the negatives you see?
I think people can see only like the best part of others and not feel good about themselves and just have like a bad self-image.
Yeah. It definitely, the ability to always compare is certainly one of those things that is on social media for sure. So this has been great. I've loved all of your thoughts and your thoughts and feedback so far. I think for our listeners, as you're thinking about your friends and yourself and your generation, like what gets you the most excited to like lead into the future, and why should people be like excited, not like, oh, this generation is going to ruin everything? Why should they be excited and rooting on your generation? I'll start here. I know you weren't ready for it.
I wasn't ready for it.
You weren't ready for it. That's why I went for it. You have any reason to be excited?
I mean, excitement is not knowing what's going to happen, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that can be exciting in some way.
In the mystery of it all, there's some excitement. Okay. How about you, Callum? What's to be excited about?
I think we have like a lot of access to technology, and that can be ways to like learn a lot, and you have like global awareness of what's going on.
Yeah, that's good. How about you, sir?
It's a good way to inform us of our problems, like all of this stuff going on. It's just a great way to spread the word, spread the Christian word, and get more communicated strength in the church.
Yeah. So as you think of just the church in general, as you're thinking about like your small group and the friends that you have, what gets you most excited about like the future of what the church can be and how the church can continue to thrive with your generation? I'll start with you this time.
The online services, because CCC did that for the COVID thing, and they've just kept it going because it's just effective.
Yeah.
Because even when your building's full, you could have another 2,000 online.
Yeah, I'm going to pay you for saying that later. Thank you. Thank you for giving the online shout out. Callum, how about you?
I think there's like people in our generation, I think they need to go to church. They don't know, but they might have like a want to do that.
Yeah.
And just to also like a good place to be with friends.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would want to do that.
Yeah.
Something that fills a void.
Yeah. Because we're made for community, right? God designed us way back in the beginning to be people that enjoy community. And so we say community is our middle name at CCC. So hopefully people can find that here. What about you? Anything else that you think like for the church that we should be excited about?
I feel like Gen Z just brings some like new ideas, like just ideas that are just different from the usual, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun, and it's exciting, and the church needs some of those ideas. This is just a last pop quiz thing, okay? Because I and you don't have to answer if you don't have one, but I always feel really old. When I was a middle school pastor, one of the things I always did was try to find out like the words that are cool that nobody understands, and then like always say them, and then I'd ruin them. Like these are really old words now, like lit and fire and savage and 100, right? Those are not cool anymore. Correct?
Yeah, fully sure. I don't think so.
No. Okay. What are like some cool words right now that you can think of that you could just unveil to our listeners that maybe we don't know about? If you don't have any, it's totally fine. But I mean, a lot of old people used to say groovy, or I'm trying to think of some others. Groovy's all that's popping into my head right now. But anything you could give us?
I feel like a lot of the phrases nowadays are kind of cringy.
They're cringe.
Okay.
That's exactly my thought.
Cringe. That's one, right?
I don't use them because they make me embarrassed just to say them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't use modern slang because like a lot of it is just like makes no sense.
okay.
I didn't
Can confirm.
discover what
Yeah.
most of it meant. until
I'm
I
as
got
lost as you are when it comes to modern slang.
Okay. I'm not the only one
I
then.
don't think there's really any.
Nothing new. Okay. Well, that's good. I don't feel like I'm way out of it then. Well,
There's one more thing.
Yes.
Gen Alpha slang is disgusting.
Gen Alpha. Okay.
Their slang is absolutely disgusting.
I don't even know what Gen Z slang is.
I've heard some of them and it's just so cringe.
And Gen Alpha, those that don't know, is the generation under you all. So you're already kind of judging them a little bit here, huh?
I mean,
Yeah.
They've taken it a little.
The iPad
they're
kids.
cringe.
Yeah.
The
That's
iPad kids.
Oh man, I don't want to get you guys started on the iPad kids. So before we get too far on them, thank you all for joining me. I know as a middle schooler, like I would have been just terrified to be in a room with lights and have a microphone shoved in front of my face and have to answer all these questions for this very, very prestigious old man asking you the questions. And so grateful for each of you jumping in today and having this conversation, and grateful to our listeners. So that's it.
All right.
Yeah, you did it. So now we are joined by some high school students who are going to be chatting with us. I don't want to introduce them. I believe that they have the power to introduce themselves. And so we'll start with you, ma'am. Can you introduce yourself? Share your name, high school you go to, and maybe just a hobby that you just really, really enjoy.
I'm MJ. I go to Millard West, and I really like doing people's hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that. This is great.
Well, because it's new,
Okay.
like a month ago.
Yeah. I know your father, and I know you don't do his hair.
No. No, I don't.
Okay. How about you, sir?
I'm Cooper Kohler. I go to Millard North High School, and I'm a junior. I currently really like investing, so I started a stock market masters club, and we meet on Tuesday afternoons.
Oh, wow. Is that just for your school, or am I allowed to join?
It's technically just for our school, but you could definitely join the Google Classroom and get the slides presentations.
Okay. I need some help in that. Okay. How about you, ma'am?
My name is Morgan. I go to Millard West High School, and I really enjoy photography.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is great. Awesome. So I've got some questions for you all. Hopefully you're prepared. If not, just make something up on the spot, and that's okay. No one will know. Cooper, we're going to start with you since I started with MJ on the last one.
Okay.
What is the biggest challenge that Gen Z, so your generation, deals with that other generations that you wish that they would understand? So maybe they don't understand because they weren't raised in 2023 or 22, as Taylor Swift would say. Isn't that like her song? Sorry, you just answered the question.
Okay, so obviously this one is more of a general. I mean, everybody wants to just feel like they belong, but I think that's more potent for Gen Z specifically. Just like hearing people just say, "Oh, you did a great job today," or "I got your back." Like, we really want to hear that, and that's how I basically can stay motivated, can continue to do things. So yeah, highly motivated and really want to feel that we belong.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Morgan, how about you?
I was definitely feeling that how we were just like thrown into technology. They don't really understand why we're so addicted to it. It's because like that's what we're born into. It revolves around everyone's lives. Like at school, we're always on our laptops, always like looking at some sort of screen. And I feel like it's just become an everyday thing for us.
Yeah. And a lot of it was just thrown at you. Like you didn't decide all of a sudden, I want a screen all the time, right? Like in school, you have to use it, and for jobs and so many different places. Yeah. How about you, MJ?
I think that our generation has a lot of mental health problems and just being under the pressure of being perfect all the time, like with social media and like just with those problems that we have of posting and making sure, or do we look perfect or are we seeming perfect? And just being under those perceived expectations from the whole world around us.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. So, Morgan, we're going to start with you on this one. Okay. How has Gen Z been mischaracterized? Like, so give us maybe 1, 2, or 3 ways that you think they've been labeled or mischaracterized by other generations.
I feel like we're definitely seen as lazy and irresponsible because, like, especially with the technology aspect, we're constantly on our phones, not really wanting to do anything else. But I feel like that's how
it's perceived. Yeah.
But when I look at like people in my school, like there's people constantly working like hours on end, as many hours that they can get to get ready for their future and setting up their lives for it. So I feel like the lazy aspect is not truthful at all, really.
Yeah. Cool. How about you, MJ?
I think that the older generations think that we're like too obsessed with our phones and just like with technology in general. But I feel like they don't they think that we use it for bad things, but really we use it for good things like communication or like school or things like that. I also think that the older generations think that we are like too sensitive or lacking social skills, but really they don't like give us a chance.
That's good.
Yeah,
Cooper?
I agree with that technology aspect, but to the Morgan's point, like some kids are, not in general, but there are some people that just like are the stereotype and they get like blamed for Gen Z's problems, but really it's only a small segment. And so one thing I want to point out is like at like school, we had a few subs like come in the past 6 months, and they just like try to teach us life lessons, like how to smile and how to do like basic things that like, I'm like, why don't you think we know this? I feel like that was a mixed characterization, like that we don't know life lessons, that we don't know how to do things and how to make friends.
So you did learn how to smile before high school?
Yes.
Can confirm?
Yes, and I made plenty of friends too.
The next thing I was going to do is teach you guys how to use a spoon, but do you all already know how to use a spoon?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, we're neighbors, so sometime I'll stop over and show Morgan how to use a spoon.
Sounds good.
Great. How about Gen Z? So a lot of times, when you sign up for something and there's a survey and you put your religion on there, more than any other generation, Gen Z is marking atheist instead of even non-religious or Christian or Buddhist or whatever. Why do you think so many people in Gen Z feel or are label themselves as atheists? MJ, you got the floor.
Okay, I think that people think that, well, not people think, but like there's a lot of like hurt and damage in this world, and I think that people think that why would a God so perfect give us those problems or like even allow it to happen? And so I think that people are just under that impression. Also, I think that our generation is a generation of followers, and so they could just be following what their parents, friends, and then their influencers believe.
Yeah. Help us know what an influencer is. Just that's a term maybe not everyone understands that's listening.
It's like a social media person who like posts everything about their life.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay.
They like influence you.
Okay. So kind of like old people would think like a celebrity or like like whatever Neil Diamond says, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Neil Diamond was like an influencer back in the day. Okay. Cooper, how about you? Why do you think so many people in Gen Z label themselves as atheists?
Yeah. So I'm going to go bold on this one a little bit, and
hot take incoming. All right.
I personally believe it's the just lack of apologetics that we've been exposed to, like during school. Like they'll say evolution is 100% true, or the Big Bang Theory, there's nothing before that. Like that's 100% true. You have to believe it. Theory is better than fact. And so just because we haven't been exposed to like apologetics, like the other side of the faith, like defending it. To me, that aspect is kind of missing among Gen Z. And so I have like conversations like almost every other day, basically just talking about how can we defend our faith, and then why I believe the things that I believe. Another thing is like personally, I got exposed to it somewhat in middle school, but I didn't really try to dive into what I like believed until ninth grade when my friends had the questions. It wasn't like the youth group telling me, okay, you should do apologetics research. It wasn't like, oh, my parents telling you to do apologetics research. It was like, okay, middle school, you told me about like Answers in Genesis as a resource. Okay, I'll just try that. And so that expanded, that really helped me out a lot. And I feel like a lot of other high schoolers don't have that resource available.
Okay. So would you all say from like a school point of view, that's just kind of what's pushed on you, or you don't have an opportunity to like have any other like a religious point of view or like a theistic point of view, or creation was just this way, and if you think other than that, you're just dumb? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, so sort of. We're allowed to have like other view, like in discussions in class, but in general, it's like discouraged, or I feel like almost embarrassed a little bit about the faith.
Okay.
That's something I need to work on, but
yeah, that's helpful. How about you, Morgan?
I feel like going off of the school aspect, we see most religions getting like breezed over in discussions, even in like history classes. And especially with Christianity, like that's never talked about. It's like the one religion that's like barely ever in any of the textbooks. No one really wants to go over it. It's always about all the other religions. And then also, I feel like, especially with our generation, we're like basically we either don't know, don't care, or it's not really worth trying to understand, because going back to what MJ was saying, that like all the world, no, that's not right. Sorry. Kind of like that we're all like the followers. Going off of what our parents are doing, sometimes we don't even want to do what our parents are doing. Yeah. And like they kind of feel like they're getting forced religion onto them by parents sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, and just part of being a teenager sometimes is like, I want to try everything my parents told me not to try, or, like you're just in that stage of life where you're like, okay, but what is out there? And you're discovering it, and you're on social media, and maybe you're introduced to a new idea that your parents never taught you. And so there's just that curiosity, which I think can be a good thing. Yeah, that's helpful. Do you think overall, because I know I know teachers at all your schools, there are definitely believers that are teachers. Do you think they just feel the pressure from like the school system to just not, be able to talk about, because I don't want teachers to all have a bad rap that, oh, they all just are skipping this and none of them believe in Jesus or anything. Do you think they just feel like this pressure from society at large to just, nope, I can't talk about my faith at school? You think that's a part of it?
I just want to comment. So yesterday I was at a children's ministry conference that Christ Community Church went, like 4 people went, but it talked about like apologetics, and there was actually this guy in that audience, and he was a science teacher. I'm not actually sure where, but he talked about like he feels the students, they have the pressure to conform to, I guess, the ways of this world, but him personally, he doesn't give into that. And so he teaches them, oh, there's really wrong things, bad implications of evolution or other aspects of atheism. And so I think he's doing a great job of just teaching our generation the right way.
But would you say that he's like in the minority from you guys' experiences of teachers?
Yeah. So I would definitely say he's a minority. It was a great example for me to see somebody that's actually doing.
Yeah. It's tough, especially when you think your job's at stake and all those kind of things. So let's talk a little bit about social media. You guys have talked about influencers and I think that's really taken off in a social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram kind of era. What are some of the positive ways that you see social media impacting your generation? I don't remember who I'm on, so Cooper, I'm just going to fire at you.
Okay. So I think there's a lot of positives with social media. So just this last like 2 months ago, my friend lost his dog, and he's like, how am I going to find it? And then he like posted on social media, and he's got his dog back within like one day. And so that was a great positive. Another positive for me has been I posted my snow shoveling business on social media, and I got like 8 jobs this season. So
cool.
It's been great for that.
Yeah.
But going to the negative aspect, like there's a lot of pressure to be on it a lot of the time. And so for me, I personally try to limit that time, or even try to not even get into some of those apps like TikTok or Instagram, and just separate that out maybe for later, but
cool.
Not right now.
Yeah. When I lost my dog, I had to like print off something, or I don't even know if we had a printer, so I just had to write it, a lot of different times and post it on like a light pole, and then hope that Fido read it or that a neighbor did. So that is good. Social media, way to go. Morgan, how about you? What are some positives and negatives?
I think some positives are we definitely use it to connect with people. Like I have some friends out of state, one of them in New York that I haven't seen in years, but we're still very close because of social media and texting and all that, which it makes me really happy because she's a really good person and I don't want to lose that connection. And then I can also see like what my family is up to because all of them live in Seattle, and there's always that disconnect from in person. So I'm always able to catch up with them. Like one of my cousins just had a baby, and I can see like how the baby's doing, how fun they're having up there. And it's really nice to just be able to see. I think a negative for sure, especially with TikTok, is, and like even YouTube shorts, like the short filmed like videos. I think that's very mind numbing. And I feel like a lot of teenagers use it as some sort of like way out of the world and trying to get away from how the reality of things are.
Yeah, maybe instead of like dealing with the problems, they can just kind of drown inside of that, and it doesn't really make things go away. It just numbs it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Anything else you want to add, MJ? What are some positives you see, some negatives you see?
For positives, I definitely agree with Morgan, just about like connecting with people you haven't seen, seeing what's going on in their life. But also for me, I use it to advertise my lawn care business, and just like using, and like to even communicate with clients. Like I use Facebook, that platform, and like I messenger my clients. And so it's a really, that way it's positive.
And ladies and gentlemen, now you know, just listening to this podcast, how your snow can be removed and how your lawn also can be taken care of. And do you have any businesses side hustles you want to make sure you promote here, Morgan?
I mean, I have a photography account. I'd be happy to be taking photos for people.
This is exciting. Gen Z, they're ready to mow your lawn, scoop your driveway, and take pictures while you do it. That's awesome. Okay, any negatives that you want to add?
I think like what you said, just like drowning in like, I watch Facebook Reels sometimes, and like, especially when I shouldn't be like going to bed or like hanging out with my family. And also the people who post could just only post the perfect things mainly. And those watching may feel their life is perfect. Why can't my life be like that? And also like when you do post, just the fact of, oh, I need to be perfect, or just under that pressure. Yeah.
Your dad is a big Michigan fan, I know that. And when he posts about Michigan winning national championships, I'm just like, why can't I? Why can't Nebraska? Oh, my life is terrible. Anyway, let's get out of that. Let's talk about what makes you most excited about your generation as you look at friends and just the things that you're doing just in general. And then we'll talk about why you're excited for your generation in the church specifically. So, Morgan, what gets you pumped up, jacked up about your generation and the hope for it?
I definitely think that technology is a big thing, and it's going to continue growing. And I think our generation is definitely going to bring like a tech first mentality to like the drive of businesses and how we're going to start producing things. I think it could be a great transformation for our future.
That's awesome. Cool. How about you, MJ?
I think that our generation could step up and be leaders and role models for our younger generation, especially like just worldly, but also in our church. I feel like there's so many opportunities for middle school students and high school students to be taught evangelism and just like teach others about the Lord and what he's done.
Yeah, that's cool. Cooper,
Yeah.
what do you add?
So I agree with that technology aspect. Like, so as part of Stock Market Masters, we talk about like AI, the technology of the businesses we invest in and specific companies. So like, seeing the video, like the amount of like economic growth just before the wave, before they're actually using the AI for like a physical purpose, like you can just see, okay, Gen Z is going to have a lot more opportunities in the tech world and the business world from that. So I think there'll be a big boost. And then pointing out like we can be leaders and how we can step up to the plate, or even preparing for the next generation, which is Alpha. But
yeah,
so looking forward to that.
That's good. How about just in the church in general? What makes you excited as you go to you worship with your team, you go to the one event that Brad talked about, you show up in your community groups with other guys and gals? Like, what makes you excited for the future of the church, thinking about your generation? MJ, we'll start with you on this one.
I think I've kind of already said, just like we're being taught like how great evangelism is, and we're being taught all these steps and given all these opportunities. But I think we also have created great community, and I think that could grow as well. Yeah,
and you can model it, I think, to a lot of adults that think they don't need community, which is so good. Yeah, Cooper, how about you?
Yeah, so I agree with that. And then like I think Gen Z is really good at being vulnerable. Like they just have that knowledge. Okay, we're going into this classroom, we're going into this club, and we're going to be like actually saying what we believe, or we're going to be honest about what we actually think about this stock or just this personal life. Like I also run a fellowship of Christian athletes, so like just seeing people in discussions being like open and much more open than I would have normally expected from like just a small group. I'm like, okay, this is the next level type of thing. And so I think that vulnerability can definitely translate into accountability and walking with the Lord.
Yeah, that's so good. I think a lot of us older people we do everything we can to make sure we look all polished. I mean, we didn't do it on social media, but we definitely did it like to our neighbors and to everything like that. And we always want to make sure everybody doesn't know anything about our lives and it looks good. And this generation is so good at being vulnerable and honest and authentic and real. And we have a lot that we can learn from that. How about you, Morgan? Anything else you want to add?
I definitely think with our church, it definitely gives us more opportunities for sure. Like I've gone on the Miami trip, I've gone on the Dominican Republic trip that we had this last summer, and that just gave us so many more opportunities to go and share the word of God with people, even with like the language boundary and the language boundary and everything.
Yeah.
Like the DR, it was definitely hard, but we had translators there who were willing to translate anything that we said to the kids, and just seeing them like listen and not be like bouncing off the walls and everything. It was really cool to see. I think all the opportunities that we get here are just very, very important, and to like take advantage of those. And I think that's what our high school ministry and middle school ministry are doing.
That's so cool. Last question. I didn't prepare you guys for this one. I did this to the middle schoolers as well, so I have to make it even. One of the joys that I had when I was a middle school pastor, and a few of you lived through that era. Cooper, I don't think you were in middle school when I was the middle school pastor. I apologize for that, or lucky you, one of the two. I would often like try to find out what the cool words are and then say them out loud, like hot, lit, savage, 100, fire, all those things. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Those aren't really cool anymore.
I know. That no cap, all those things I tried to. Could you just tell us, as older folks, what are the cool things kids are saying these days? What's a Swiftie?
A person who's like obsessed with Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Or big fan of the Chiefs. Like you could have like Travis Kelce, and then you have like 87, and you have Swiftie on the back.
Okay.
And that's fun. One word we like.
That's pretty fun.
we like to kind of make fun of our teachers with is the word Riz.
Riz, okay. What's
And
Riz?
so we tell them, oh, it's just like charisma, you know? And then they use it out of context, and you're like, and then everybody just kind of laughs. It just really, it's more about like, how do I want to phrase this?
You could phone a friend. Either of you want to talk about Riz here for us?
It's like when you're like when picking up someone, like, hey, what's your phone number? Like the pickup lines, you're like rizzing them up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that was good work.
That's
was
a
really
good
good.
way.
Yeah,
Good way
yeah,
to
yeah.
put it.
So if you're like, you got to Riz them before you ship them, right? Would that be
Yeah, basically.
shipping? What if you want to ship someone? What's that?
It's like where there's two people and like they like each other. Like you're not gonna make them uncomfortable with it, but like they're like kind of in a relationship, but you're like wanting them to be. So you're
In a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. So not sending parcel from one
No.
place to the other.
no.
Great. Anything else you guys want to add to the discussion on words, or are we uncovered enough?
No, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That was good.
Well, honestly, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you all for joining. It's been fun to hear just the insights that each of you have and the time that you put in. And I'm hopeful that older people like me, that we would take time to listen and learn from you all and continue to pray for you all and root you on in the future, because we need the next generation for the future to continue. I also do want to give another shout out, since this is Youth Takeover, our friend EJ. He's a student here at Christ Community Church. Not on camera or on the microphone, but he is producing this podcast. So we don't have producer Austin today. We have had a high school student. Sorry, I don't know what happened. I got emotional, I guess, and I had to cough. High school student producing it. So shout out to EJ. And thank you all for listening. And we will talk to you soon.
All right, shouts out to all of those young people who are willing to, come into a high pressure situation. And I think, Alex, you used the term prestigious man at one point in the podcast, and that made me laugh. And I know it was sarcasm, but you almost delivered it in a non-sarcastic way, and I was like, wow, okay.
I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they did an awesome job. And you did a good job setting them up, because I think it's hard to come in and be really honest about things that you are thinking in your head, and like being willing to open up to somebody so much older.
Yeah, a prestigious older man.
About how you feel. And like it can be really scary to talk about stigmas and things you're thinking.
Yeah.
And so I thought they did awesome. It was so helpful. Thanks, guys.
It was sarcasm. I was practicing for my sermon this week, where Paul uses a lot of sarcasm in 1 Corinthians 4.
Well,
It's
yeah,
in
you're
there.
never
Check it out
sarcastic.
if you don't believe sarcasm is in the Bible.
I don't believe it's in there.
But yeah, it was
That was sarcasm.
Was that sarcasm?
it was a lot of fun to get to sit down with. I was just impressed with, each of them, especially for their age and maturity. I think back to me as a middle schooler, and I definitely would not have been able to. I would have been super nervous, probably not able to say yes to something like that, and not as thoughtful, as they were. And definitely there's nerves, you're putting this out there on the internet for all to see. And then, I really appreciated the high schoolers as well, just their insight. And you could tell they took a lot of time, to process through the questions, to think deeply and critically. And so, and just grateful for, all of those, I know their families, and just, you can tell when somebody is just coming from a great family and parents are doing a good job raising them. I think you can see some of that. So shout out. You should be proud, moms and dads, grandmas, grandpas, if you're listening to your grandkids. You're doing something right. And it encourages me as the church, that there is a lot of hope for the future. So that's hopefully what people that just listen to them leave with. It's easy to be pessimistic and not have hope for the future, but hopefully listening to them and knowing, hey man, those are middle schoolers, not just middle schoolers, not just high schoolers, but sharp middle schoolers and high schoolers, and they're going to be leading in the future is exciting. It was funny to me that like some of the middle schoolers were like kind of slamming Gen Alpha a little bit, not slamming him, but just for those that don't know, so current middle schoolers, like 6th graders, 12-year-old is the end of of Gen Z. So 11 and under is the next gen, the Gen Alpha. Some have called iPad kids, and so it'll be interesting to hear from them.
Well, and it shows you that the generation comparison thing never really ends.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think it's just even the way we're handling it sometimes. It's frustrating to me because I feel like we're perpetuating this thing where we're like, well, see, they're not that bad, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to be critical of what you said, but it's like I've heard people say that even like in other scenarios where we're trying to justify this generation, and it's kind of like they did that for my generation, for the generation before that. It's like, when are we going to realize that people are people, and it really depends on the environment you are raised in, what type of person you're going to be, and this generational stuff. Yeah, we can paint some broad strokes there and point to certain things that are a problem, but really, I don't know. It's tough because I think even as a parent, I look at my kids and you have this realization where like this is another human being, and a lot of times I think people will enter into parenthood as thinking, maybe not intentionally thinking of themselves as a tyrant, but almost like, all right, I'm going to be a parent, and what I say goes, and they're going to live under my roof, and they're going to obey me, and they're going to do everything I say, and they don't really have any autonomy, and then when you realize, no, these are human beings with feelings and personalities and opinions, and they matter, and they're going to view the world differently than the next generation, the generation older than them, and that doesn't lessen their value, and I think to me that's just frustrating to think that we always feel this need to justify the next generation. It's like they're going to get justified one way or another because we're all going to die. Like that's the thing. Older people older than me, they're going to die too. Newsflash. And then the younger generations are going to die, and they're always going to be replacing us. So this idea that we have to justify the next generation is just kind of ludicrous. Like you should just naturally want to support and see them succeed because there is no other there is no plan B. There's no other option. That's who it is, So, but I think I echo a lot what you said, Alex. I think it's super encouraging to hear how well spoken they are, how considerate they are with the way they answer questions, and also I know where to go to get my lawn mowed and my snow removed and photos taken. And,
I'm just trying to learn about stocks.
Yeah, stocks, all that stuff.
And
I thought that was
actually,
awesome.
This week on Monday, Isaiah, who was one of the middle schoolers, he talked about 3D printing. He brought me the 3D printed snake, and it was really cool. He was selling them at Trail Life.
Is that one of the ones that moves?
Yeah.
Assuming? Okay.
It was really cool. So thanks for showing me that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
3D
I'm sorry
printing,
I missed that.
That's really cool. We should get him to make us a trinket or something for the podcast.
Maybe so. We could send it to all our guests in the future.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Alex just always goes like
next level.
We're like, maybe
production.
we can have one thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Oh, did you have something else to say? Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that one thing that I just saw as a trend like through the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, and I think like we miss it if we don't think about how much we also want this as adults, but all the students were saying we want to be heard and we want to be known and we want to be seen. And I thought to myself, man, that's a question us as adults are asking from like the minute we can start to like cognitively understand life. Like that's what we want. And so as much as we're wanting that as adults and we want people to hear our perspective, it's like people are, and our kids and students around us are crying out for that same thing. And so just a good challenge to be sensitive to those generations, and they can teach us something. And I think when we can stop and listen, like they have incredible thoughts about business and entrepreneurship and God. And I think that that's something that we need to challenge ourselves to maybe get more into.
No, that's really
good.
Like,
what are they into? What songs do they like? Like, let's get more, like we've talked about, and you've said, Alex, like, let's get more in proximity with that, because like the heart of who God made us, like I just heard that all the way through, and it just resonated with me too. Like I want to be known and heard. And so just remembering that and just really maybe challenging people in that way.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Sorry. Anything else? No, any other thoughts, closing thoughts before we? All right. Awesome. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for all those young people who joined us. We really did value that. If you have any questions or concerns, you want to reach out to us, you can always do that at podcast@cccomaha.org, or you can reach out to us on social media on TikTok and Instagram. Be sure to follow us there at CCCOMA Podcast, or you can leave us a voicemail at 402-885-9930. And also remember to rate and review this on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to this podcast. That always helps us become a little more discoverable, or like this if it's on YouTube, and subscribe there as well. Until next time, we'll talk to you then.